Alright, y'all, finally, as I promised 2 whole ass videos ago, the meat and potatoes, right? We finally have a query. We talked about how to promisify it. We talked about how to organize it, at least some. We talked about how to write safe escape placeholder values, which I have more I can talk about that, believe it or not. There's always more I can talk about. I don't know why I had to go to the deep voice, but I'd like to do that sometimes. Like Jiminy, was it Jiminy Glick that did that? I think so. Alright, so here we go. I wanted to actually CRUD out all of our to-do endpoints that we've scaffolded many videos ago at this point. So what I'm going to do is close my users query files and make a new one called to-dos. Finally, the fun part. Import that utility file from the index one above. Const get all to-do items is going to be a query that just simply runs select star from to-dos for now. Export default. We need to write the keyword assignment operator. That's how arrow functions work, Luke, you dingus. We're going to go ahead, you dingaling. We're going to add that right there. And we're going to go ahead and crank out our CRUD queries as simple as we can make them. Const 1. We're going to pass in an ID to find them by. It'll be as a number argument. The query it's going to run will be select star from to-dos, where ID equals question mark now, escape array ID argument. So we take this ID from the function, throw it onto this array, it gets inspected for safety, and then places it on the question mark for us. I'm going to add that to my default list here. Moving on down. The other really easy one, we can't use the delete keyword. It has a specific use in JavaScript. So we can't use delete, so I'm going to call mine destroy. It sounds cooler anyway. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to delete a particular ID. And to be honest, who actually deletes information these days? We're going to be doing it in this application. But when you delete your account with like Facebook, Instagram, Google, do you really think they're going to harvest your data and then delete it when I want to delete my account? Oh, hell no. They're going to just say, if it's deleted, just mark a column that says is visible to hell nah, and that way the user thinks their account's deleted, but we still got their data and we're going to sell the shit out of it. That's exactly what happens in the real world, by the way. So this right here may not actually get you far at a real company, as ironic as that is, but there's going to be things you're going to delete. Delete from the to-dos table, same thing, where ID equals question mark, like that. And finally, our lovely insert statement. Now, remember when I talked about a moment ago about, I said I'm going to close it, I'm going to bring it back open. This insert statement for our users table that had several or 4 question marks, that's not that many. But Luke, what if my project, I had a student group do this like a gardening style project where you can plan out your garden and plot what flowers and items go in which plot. You had to insert something like 20 to 25 input fields. Do you, the developer, really want to sit here and write 25 function arguments, 25 placeholders, or 25 insert column in this order, 25 freaking question marks, and 25 individual arguments to pass? I don't think so. You don't want to do that. What you want to do instead is be able to pass a shorthand that can get treated just the same. So that's a technical foul. No. Timeout. Yes, the shorthand, spam in Discord, go figure. The shorthand syntax is super coolio to know how to do, but as with all things, it comes with its own trade-offs. Another one of my favorite talking points about code. Hey Luke, which is better, the shorthand cool object syntax or passing in each question mark individually? And I'd say, depends, bro, which is my favorite answer to tell all my students because it just gets them all riled up. There typically isn't a always do X. There is, but in this case, it's a trade-off. If I choose to write each one manually, if I'm writing really big forms, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass. If I shorthand, there are other trade-offs to worry about. Let's see what I mean. So instead of saying I'm going to pass every argument individually to my to-dos table. Let's remind ourselves what to-dos consisted of. They were, I don't remember making the text this freaking big, but you know what? Hold on. This text, I mean, it's good for the video, but my God, like it's taking me for, I'll worry about it later. Focus, Luke. We have to insert the user ID, the content, and that's it. There's really not a lot of shorthand here to do, but forget it. We're going to learn anyway because it's super cool. We're cool kids, so let's go and do that. I mean, shorthanding 2 properties is just overkill, but you know what? Maybe it'll be easy since it's only 2 properties. These are the only 2 properties we actually have to write ourselves. Everything else is pretty much is going to be automatically created. I mean, this won't even be done later anyway, so I don't know what to tell y'all. Let's just learn how to shorthand 2 properties. Let's write it both ways. First thing, it expects a user ID, which I presume will be a number data type. Content, it will be a string data type. Is it content? Yeah, it's content. The query will look like this. Insert into to-dos. User ID, content, value, question mark, escape array, user ID, content. There we go. Add it to my exported list, and that's exactly what it's going to look like. Now I hit my formatter hotkey, and it moved it to a new line just for visibility. I realized destroy isn't in that list, and just to be consistent, I want to move it in the exact order. It doesn't have to be in this order, but I'm going to make it in the exact order because my mind works that way. So that's what the query looks like with no shorthand. And again, for 2 properties, we don't get much off of the shorthand. Now, the caveat here is 2 properties, not that big of a deal. 25, cumbersome. So let's see the shorthand. Instead of passing in each argument individually, I'm going to pass in an argument I'm going to call the new to-do. It's going to be an object that has a user ID property that's going to have a value of a number, and a content property that's going to have a value of a string. So I'm passing in an object that has those properties. So now down here, I can choose to do the following. Don't mind if I do. Sitting on top of the world now. So this shorthand syntax is a valid insert statement. It kind of looks like an update statement. So let's break down what's happening here. Insert into to-dos set question mark. The question mark will be replaced by the new to-do once it's vetted for SQL injection. The question mark or the new to-do is this object that looks like the following. As a comment, as I like to do, and it seems to help students quite a bit, let's make a comment of what the object would look like. Object, user ID, we have one choice, which is 1. Content. What did this do? Okay. It is going to take each key or property and value pair, format it to work for this insert set syntax. It would say insert into to-dos set. It takes property 1, user ID, takes the colon, changes it to an equal sign, takes the number, assigns it there, automatically adds a comma if it needs to. Takes the property content, adds it there, equal sign, it knows it's a string, so it takes the quotes for you and generates that. So whatever object we pass to the question mark will automatically get split into key value pairs that match the required SQL syntax. Hence why this shorthand for a very, very large form you have to fill out is nothing but excellent. Now, what's the caveat? What if your new to-do or your rec body, for example, if you're not careful and don't remove properties from it that don't need to be there? What if some front-end dev, like maybe you ask me to help you on your projects and I'm nefarious, malicious, awful? I know I can be, but I would do this just to make you better. I would purposely take your rec body, add an additional property that shouldn't be there, and watch your code collapse in on itself. What's going to happen here is it's going to add now, comma, pizza equals, ah crap, lol, and end the query. This is going to result in a failed insert statement because my to-dos table has no pizza column, let alone a pizza column with a varchar data type. That is the caveat of the shorthand. It will allow you to write bad insert statements if you are not careful, as it just takes everything it's given, spreads it out, and calls it a day. So be careful. The individual question mark syntax that we see in the user's endpoint allows for strong safety because it requires a set number of arguments, and it's hard to mess that up once you get it going. This one scales like crazy. Oh, our to-dos table needs 15 new properties because I'm an insane person. Well, just add them to the object, and you don't have to touch a single thing on this query. If my to-dos table grew 15 columns in length in the insert statement, this query code right here, it don't change. It don't change. But once again, the caveat is that the properties on there don't match what it's expecting, it's going to fail. So that is the caveat. We can combine this shorthand syntax for our update statement as well. In our update statement, I'll call this the updated to-do. In our case, we're probably not going to change who's updating it. We could, but not always. So we might make that optional. And the content, maybe we're changing who wrote it and the content hasn't changed. So we might make that optional as well. In this case, once again, the shorthand doesn't super help us. Well, I want to show you what it looks like. Update. I want to show you what it looks like anyway, just so we can see what the shorthand would look like here. So not only does it take all these arguments, it also needs to know which to-do ID we're intending to update, because we're updating one, not all of these. So run our query, update to-dos, set question mark, where ID equals question mark. Escape array, updated to-do, the object itself, and the ID arguments like that. And there it is. That's how you can use the same object shorthand. If we need to update this one, or both, it will automatically split the object we're giving it to it, and it will automatically generate the correct syntax. So if we added 15 more properties to this thing, this has the potential to update all 15 things at once, or any combination of them. Whatever your object has on it, it will split. So make freaking sure that your object only has the properties you care on it. Let's add this to my update. Update is what I'm going to call it today, evidently. Update here, and let's begin cranking it out, because guess what? I'm going to hit my format hotkey. We done here. That's it. Actually, I'm sure there's a syntax bit I missed y'all might be screaming at me about, so we'll find out momentarily, I guess. Now, I didn't actually index this one yet, so we're going to head from queries into index, double check. Good thing I checked. Copy paste, Control D, to-dos, or Command D on Mac. To-dos on my exported object here, and voila, we index y'all. We're going to head out of there into my to-dos routes, and let's begin cranking them out. Next, let's go to our insert first. There's our new to-do. We're going to make a const result equals, oh wait, I don't think I imported my DB up here. Yeah, head to the top, import DB from up one, database index, don't need to write index. Down yonder, db.todos.insert. We're going to take the new to-do object and assume it has everything it needs on it. We're going to get rid of this ... new to-do test we did earlier and simply just take the result and maybe add that as a property right there if we want to. Pretty cool. Or we can take it and spread the results out next to this message thing, but it has properties we don't care about at the moment. We can do that for now. Well, TS isn't going to be happy because it's like, I don't know what result is. So let's just send it as the default response at this point. I don't really care. There we go. Let's just send the result as the response in this case. Let's go insert that new to-do item. We're going to head to, I need to save this. I'm going to save this to my, say, register new user. Save it to to-do full stack, save. Close that tab, head to post a new to-do, our body. Look at that. It's got the code already written inside of it. It's like I've been preparing you for this day. Fire away. Let's see what happened. Here's the error message. You can look at your console for the big version of it. Insert into to-dos, set user ID equals 1. That looks good. Task equals record demo. Because it's not called task, Luke, you dingus. It's called content. I forgot to change it. Then I was like, oh, I'm going to make this before I make my schema, lol. Look what I have to do for it. Dumb mistakes. Let's change the property and fix it. And I got affected rows 1, insert ID 1 as well, which means we just made our first new to-do list freaking finally after hours worth of content. God, I love this. So let's crank out the rest. Let's head to our get all request and do the same thing. We're going to say const all to dos equals await dubba dot to doza dot all the no, I don't know what the hell I'm doing tonight, y'all. There's our all to dos being sent as a response. Let's go crank it out. Please, for all that is holy, notice the data structure. No one ever pays attention to this. Hey, Purse. Nope, you're rolling back up on the desk. You want to say hi? Percy doesn't want to say hi. I'll make him say hi at the end. Maybe, we'll see how I feel. Please, for the love of all is holy, notice the structure. It is an array of objects. Let's go make one more to-do list item. I'm going to go back to my post tab. Record demo again will be my next test insert. Send. It made the next insert ID of 2. Head back to my all tab. Make the request again. Look. An array of objects, whether it found one or several. Keep that in your noggins, because we're going to head to the get one. We're going to come over here. We're going to write const to do equals await db.todos dot Juan. It is expecting a number, but Luke, rec parameters are strings. Who cares? Because we casted it to a number and TypeScript is happy. If we did not cast this to a number, we are now taking a string and passing it in place of an expected number. So we could just go change this type to be ID string, or make sure we're treating it as a number rather than as a string. In vanilla JavaScript, this does not matter, but here it does. So I might even call this to do details. Res.json to do details. There we go. There we go. Okay, now let's see what that result looks like. Let's get not 1, 2, 3. Let's get the second one, ID 2. Let's test that. I ran a get one request, and look what it returned. It returned an array of the object. Drill this into y'all's heads, because I'm tired of explaining it to people. You're getting riled up now. Select statements with node MySQL, what we're using, will always return an array of objects, no matter what. So your get tabs, probably going to be select statements, array of objects, array of objects, array of objects. I'm going to say it again, array of objects. Post, put, delete is that result thing that had affected rows. Insert ID, I've had students call it the canned response. I've had students call it the MySQL res or something like that. Just drill it in your heads. Delete, put, post have that object we had copied and pasted. This response, this default pre-coded canned response. Any select statement will always be an array of objects. Now, if you want to destructure it, you could. TypeScript might be unhappy with us because it doesn't know what to do details is yet, so you couldn't do a shorthand like that. It'll work, but it won't like you. For now, let's just try seeing what a square bracket 0 does there. So back on the get one tab, destructure at one level because it should just get the one thing. So get the one thing out of the array and give it to me. On the all side of things, leave the array because you want the list of stuff. Okay? Wunderbar. Next, let's head to our put request. Here, we need to const result equals await db to-dos update. The order of arguments, mouse over your function, is the updated object, then the ID property. So we're going to say the edited to-do is the first argument, and the to-do ID, or the to-doid. Why did I decide that last time? The to-doid is going to be the second argument, and we're going to send that as my response now from this CRUD. There you go. Now, I have no other user ID, so let's check our next test. Over here, remember in my put request, in our body of the put request from our last video series, I had updated the user ID. That's not going to happen. We don't have to worry about that property. But this is going to tell us if our shorthand syntax works or not. Because if this now works, if I change this to content and not provide a user ID, because it should be optional, we're going to say record updated demo. Maybe that's what I meant to write. And we're going to say that was on the second one. Excuse me. On the second to-do item, we meant to actually write record updated demo instead of record demo again. So I'm going to click send on this update. This is our route parameter, which ID to do we're updating. This is what we're intending to update about that to do item with my shorthand. Send. No insert ID because we didn't insert anything, but we got affected rows of 1. So if I change one row, it's a pretty good indication it worked, and you'll see down here it says it matched one row and changed one row with no warnings. A new message property has appeared as well. Super duper. Head back to our to do get one ID, check on 2, remake the request, and it is now updated in the database. And finally, the easy and fun one, we can just come down here and write const result equals await db.todos.destroy, pass in the todoid because I decided that was a good variable name last time for some unknown reason. And we're going to do a res JSON on our result, and voila. That's all we need to do. Get it? To do? I'll be here all week. All right, so in my to-do tab, we're going to go ahead and delete the second one. So long, to-do item. Affected rows 1, pretty good indication. On our get one tab, it sent nothing because you can't get index 0 of an empty array because there's nothing there. So maybe we could conditionalize that response to send the object if there is one. Otherwise, send a message that says there's nothing. It's up to you. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to just account for this response at some point in time. Over here in my get all tab, I can click send and notice it's back down to an array of 1 object. And guess what? That's it. I'm going to save these tabs so they're updated in my collection. And there we go. The CRUD of the to-do items is done minus any major features. We got that done in no time once we had laid all this groundwork. And that's how the workflow of information will start in the database, connect to our servers, run queries that we execute as promises to avoid callback hell, how to safely do so with escape characters, how to use object syntax shorthand, object notation shorthand, how to bring them into an individual route and make that route run all of our individual CRUD operations. Typically with REST API services, the idea is that one route will run one action and send a response. Again, REST is an architectural guideline and not necessarily a rulebook. So we could totally just have one route do like 4 requests at one time, gather all the information up and send it off, but that's not super cool. So I think in the next video, we'll talk about maybe getting some new information into our queries, because as of right now, is this, let's go add that new to-do item again, so we add another one. So record demo, yeah, again, why not? Add that to-do item back to an array of them. If I was listing these on the home page, notice it didn't go back to 2, but went to 3. That's normal. MySQL won't revert the ID backwards if you delete stuff because it could run into problems. So it's always going to keep it moving forward no matter what. We have an array of objects, and my question to y'all is this enough to display on our home page of our React app? Sure, but what's more important than knowing I only have one user, but what if I had multiple? I want to know which to-do item belongs to which user. To you and me, the developer of this project, we would know who user ID 1 is, who user ID 2 is, probably test2 at test2.com. But I would like to maybe pull in their email or their first and last name along with this information, which we can talk about in joins in the next video. See y'all there.